Hey there, thinkers! Welcome back to Critical Hit. My name is S, and during a recent shareholders meeting, or call, or whatever you're calling it now, but one of those shareholders had the nerve to question Square Enix about Sweet Baby Inc. Specifically, they wanted to know if Square Enix is actually a client of Sweet Baby Inc. and what they plan to do about the public's less than stellar perception of that relationship. So let's dive into this article from That Park Place, but of course before we do, if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, tapping that like, and ringing the bell to be notified for our next video to help us with the YouTube algorithm. We'd greatly appreciate it. I also love how they chose to use a picture of Forspoken. That game crashed and burned because Square Enix thought it was such a great idea to take advice from a consultancy firm like Black Girl Gamers, which ended up ruining the game before it even hit the shelves. So let's get into this. Now, if you somehow haven't heard of Sweet Baby Inc., boy, you are in for a treat. They're on a mission to cram woke ideology down the throats of the video game industry, all in the name of inclusion and representation. Their CEO, Kim Belair, has even rallied the troops to scare the living daylights out of developers and execs to achieve her lofty company's mission objectives. Now, during a presentation at the Game Developers Conference in 2019, Belair detailed, if you are creative working in AAA, which I did for many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value and what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go and have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. Wow. And I mean, what a charming approach. Nothing screams team player quite like threatening your colleagues to get what you want. Belair really knows how to win the hearts and minds by scaring the marketing team into submission. I mean, what an inspiration. Because you have to consider, I say that out loud as a joke, but it's actually very true. Because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing, you have to deal with mitigating harm and keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive. There's like a genuine value that you could impress upon them ethically and financially. You could say this is important, she said. Belair went on to state, it's also a valid discussion to have because if you're working with a thin narrative budget and you're in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money the marketing can give you. So according to Belair, when you're dealing with a tight narrative budget in a AAA gaming world, brace yourself for a revelation. Marketing's financial infusion can either dazzle you with resources or leave you bitterly disappointed. Because apparently in this brave new world, storytelling takes a back seat to the almighty marketing budget. Who knew that narrative death could be outsourced to ad dollars? Belair also made it clear that she has an animus against white gamers, describing them as picky babies. She said, I think in our industry and in so many creative industries, if you want to look at a film and television and any art form, we start treating our core demographics as a fixed and static value, something that doesn't want to change and something that is locked in place. So despite the changing face of audiences, despite the changing face of conferences like this one, we still look at our core demographic and say, okay, they're white, cis, hetero males, and we cater exclusively to them. And the problem is that we don't just cater to them. Like, you know, here's something that we think you'll enjoy, we cater to them like picky babies. Belair's comments about white gamers being labeled as picky babies and the industry catering exclusively to them might come off as divisive. It's important to recognize that gaming, like any creative field, should strive for inclusivity and diversity without dismissing or stereotyping any demographic. They should acknowledge historical trends in target demographics. It's crucial to evolve with the changing face of audiences and ensure that everyone feels represented and valued in the gaming community. Painting any group with broad strokes risks oversimplifying complex issues and potentially alienating individuals who may not fit into perceived norms. Don't worry, she elaborated. We feed them the same thing that we know that they love, and we keep on feeding it. We're like, here you go. We know you love it. Eat this, eat this, eat this. So when they get anything else, they react as a picky baby would, which would be like, oh, no thank you, I don't want this. And we've actually done this so long that what we're doing is creating an entire nation of picky babies. And they make us scared to even deviate from what we actually want to do, just in case these picky babies don't want to play our games. Oh, so what she's actually saying is that she's turned the game development into a soulless exercise of pandering to the lowest common denominator. Congratulations on reducing the artistry and creativity that once made gaming great. In the past, games thrived on innovation and risk-taking, not being hand-fed the same recycled ideas by corporate overlords like Sweet Baby Inc. Now that you've tainted our games with this formulaic approach, it's no wonder nobody wants to touch your pandering products. Gamers crave authenticity, not another serving of diluted creativity masked as innovation. She doubled down on this metaphor later in the presentation. Do like to imagine that when we look at white guys, and there's several of you here, I think when we look at you, we say, okay, you can't possibly enjoy this. But I think they want also, and maybe you want also, to experience new and different stories. I think we need to step out of this rule that, like, white guys can enjoy fantasy worlds, aliens, sci-fi monsters as anything, as long as it's through a lens that looks exactly like them. Because if that's the kind of person that we're always going to cater to, you're never going to innovate. You're never going to change things. You're going to keep feeding the picky baby, she continued. And we cannot continue to try to create art under a system that's going to bar innovation for fear of a picky baby throwing a tantrum. Oh, so now enjoying fantasy, sci-fi, or anything remotely imaginative while being a white guy makes you a picky baby. Wow, how groundbreaking. Apparently we're all supposed to conform to a narrow one-size-fits-all perspective to avoid offending delicate sensibilities. Because, you know, exploring new and diverse narratives are not enough for these poor dears. Maybe next time we'll be told to stick to rainbow walls and non-binary oatmeal to avoid triggering any more tantrums. Oh, the perils of innovation in a world where progressiveness is apparently measured by how many picky babies they upset. A little bit later, she said, I don't think it's a pie in the sky thinking to go like, hey, maybe we can invite white dudes to play as other people and experience different things through someone else's eyes. And if they don't like it, we have to start thinking we're not losing, they're losing. And we're losing because we're going to let them stand in our way of progress and our innovation. In fact, at the end of her presentation, Belair admitted that what she's doing is injecting wokeness into the video game industry. None of what we're doing is about ticking boxes or about veneer of wokeness. We actually have to care about making this stuff. Oh, here we go again with the progress and innovation crusade. Sorry to burst your woke bubble, but the last time I checked, the Rainbow Mafia isn't exactly the core gaming demographic. Injecting this kind of agenda might be disappointing and revolting to those who actually play the game for, I don't know, the gameplay? But hey, I guess we're all just bystanders to this noble cause, whether we like it or not. Given the company's stated objectives, over 400,000 gamers have joined the Steam curator list titled Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, that effectively functions as a boycott list for all the games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on that are available to purchase on Steam. The curator list has 404,166 followers as of writing this article. It's the second largest curator list on Steam. The list has evolved over time and includes recommendations of games that do not push wokeness, as well as other games that do push wokeness. But Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on, it appears at least one Square Enix shareholder was concerned about Square Enix being listed as one of Sweet Baby Inc.'s clients on the consultancy website. If these games weren't such utter garbage, maybe we wouldn't have to meticulously uncover and expose every stinker out there. It's almost like Sweet Baby Inc. and its army of 400,000 boycotters are doing the gaming community a public service by highlighting what's truly worthy of playing versus what's just a woke mess. And Square Enix shareholders are sweating over the consultancy choices. Maybe they should focus on backing games that don't need a watchdog in the first place. The shareholder asked during a recent report, "I'm personally happy about the shift from quantity to quality. I hope good titles will come out in the future. I'm concerned about the Canadian consulting company Sweet Baby. Square Enix is listed as a client. But is there actually a transaction there? What kind of transaction is it? Will they continue to do so in the future?" I am glad that they are suddenly interested in quality and questioning these transactions. It's about time that somebody has noticed the shady dealings of Sweet Baby Inc. I mean, I've been saying this for ages, that these consulting firms pull more strings behind the scenes than we care to admit. Maybe just next time, don't wait until the annual report to start asking the real questions. I mean, better late than never, I suppose. I'm just glad that they're finally waking up to the madness and realizing how Sweet Baby Inc. has been tainting these games and costing them money. Now, the Square Enix president did respond. "I would like to refrain from making specific comments about individual clients." Yeah, sure. I'm sure you would. "As we shift from quantity to quality, providing content that is enjoyable and safe for our customers is also a part of what makes a product fun. We will do our best as creators." This line of questioning also comes in the wake of Square Enix working with a consultancy group, Black Girl Gamers, on their Forspoken game, which sucked. Forspoken was a massive flop and resulted in Square Enix shutting down the game's developer, Loomis Productions, and absorbing it into Square Enix. Square Enix representative director admitted that the game's sales were not good during the company's financial results briefing back in February 2023. He said, "Reviews for Forspoken, which was released on January 24, 2023, have been challenging. However, the game has also received positive feedback on its action features, including its parkour and combat capabilities. So it has yielded results that will lead to improvement of our development capabilities of other games in the future." Next, he discussed the game's sales. That said, its sales have been lackluster. Wow, you don't say. I wonder why that would be. And while the performance of new titles in February and March release dates will be the ultimate determinant, we will see considerable downside risks to our financial year 2023 third quarter earnings. Well, look who's finally catching on. Matsuda over at Square Enix has finally had a eureka moment. Turns out, Forspoken's not exactly breaking records. Surprise, surprise. Despite all the hype about its parkour and combat, it seems like they forgot to sell enough copies to, stay in business. Now, Matsuda, pondering the considerable downside risk to their earnings for the year, maybe they'll learn that action-packed reviews don't actually pay the bills. However, those are my thoughts on this. What do you make of the Square Enix shareholders questioning the company about its business relationship with Sweet Baby Inc.? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, before you go, subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, and ring the bell to be notified for our next video. As always, this is Est, and I'm signing off now. So I'm going to see you in the next one. Toodles!